Hello, my goblins. My name is Sylvie, CEO and solo employee of Sylvie the Dragon Games. You can find my TTRPGs on itchio and drivethrurpg, and hear me talk about them here on YouTube. First, I want to thank my community and supporters so much for achieving our community challenge to raise $100 in game sales to clothe my poor goblin mascot before winter. She has her stripy socks, fuzzy slippers, cozy hat, goblin jeans, and comfy hoodie. I think my next community challenge will be based on community engagement, likes, comments, and shares across all my platforms. So, stay tuned for updates, more games, and now on to the video you've been waiting for. Creating games is one of my strongest passions. I've been inventing little games since I was probably 9 years old, and it wasn't until recently that I started to take myself more seriously as a tabletop game designer, and even more recently that I truly started to finish the games that I started. For a long time, publishing a game seemed like the kind of thing that was far out of reach, and I thought, what was the point? What would I even get out of it after the crazy amount of work that goes into making a game? And am I even good enough as a writer and artist to make a game that people would play? How am I supposed to do it all alone? And despite those thoughts, I kept working on my little game ideas, mostly for myself just because I like to do it, and because I have a philosophy of always writing down good ideas. And bad ideas, just in case they turn out to be good ideas later. I started to generate a lot of interest and enthusiasm among friends about my games, so I started to think maybe I was onto something with a few of my 20 plus unfinished game ideas. That's when I started to work a little harder at completing them. I learned about itchio as I was nearing completion on one of my larger game ideas, Fantasy Pre, the Dragon Racing TTRPG. I'm sure you've heard of it. I've been working on that game on and off for about 4 years, but most of the work had been done in the last year when I started to realize that it was a project I could actually pull off on my own. But I wasn't sure about posting it online quite yet. I figured first, I'll do a test run. I'll finish a much smaller game and post that on itchio to see how it goes and get a feel for the website's features. Inspired, I took a random game that felt near completion and ADHD hyperfixated on it until it was ready to post. My first ever game published on November 17th of 2024 was Mushroom Realty. A simple journaling game. In Mushroom Realty, you take on the role of a mushroom real estate agent, buying randomly generated mushroom houses and selling them at profit to randomly generated mushroom buyers. The game uses a pretty simple D6 system and a series of random tables or oracles to generate houses, rooms, and the color-coded themes within. I also included tables for random mushroom names in the back of the book, and I don't want to brag, but they're adorable and I loved them all. Mushrooms are great. I had what I thought was decent success for my first game published, with no advertising whatsoever. Over the past year, I sold a few copies, offered some free downloads, and some nice nerds took advantage of that, and all that made me really happy. Then, next thing I knew, before I was ready to publish Fantasy Pre, the Dragon Racing TTRPG, I found my passion for game jams. My first game jam, the Feminomenon Jam, ran from November to February, and its only restriction was to create a feminine-themed tabletop game. I had some old notes down for a sapphic dating sim that took place on a steampunk airship, but I didn't know how to code at the time, still don't, so I figured why not turn it into a TTRPG? Airship Amour became a beautifully illustrated solo sapphic dating sim journaling TTRPG that used tarot cards instead of dice. And because I'm extra, I decided to challenge myself further by limiting myself to a simple color palette consisting of the colors of the lesbian flag. A dark and light pink and a dark and light orange, plus white of course. I created a diverse cast of 6 female characters divided among 3 stations aboard the airship. You as the character take on the role of the new hire in any station you like. You could use the specially designed tarot cards to determine your personality, backstory, as well as first impressions with each crew member, consulting the rulebook for the meaning of each card. After that, you draw tarot cards to determine random events and outcomes to those events, journaling out the details as you go. Each time the Lover's card is drawn, a date is triggered with your preferred NPC. Truth be told, I haven't finished the official date book for each character to outline their romantic evenings spent with each other, but that is 3 dates for each of 6 characters, likely 2 to 3 pages each, depending on the details I have planned. So that's a lot of writing, and I just haven't gotten around to it with my current hyperfixations on other games. I do plan to finish it and post a really big update sometime in the next year for sure. But for now, the game is perfectly playable as it is, you just have to come up with the dates yourself. While I was in the midst of creating Airship Amore, another interesting game jam caught my eye. The Love Bug Jam ran for about the same time as the Phenomenon Jam, and I figured, what's the worst case scenario? I end up with 2 unfinished games, just drop out at the end. Nothing new, but that is far from what happened. My third game, Buggy Juice Bar, is a solo journaling game where you, a cute little bug, get to forage for fruits, vegetables, and herbs to squish into juice for your thirsty customers. Each ingredient comes with a tag for flavor and health benefits to match cravings that your customers will tip you if you get right. The game has 5 skills: foraging, juicing, marketing, mixology, and tinkering that you use to play. Along with the rulebook, the game comes with a character sheet and a calendar template to track your activity and progress throughout the game. Next, and at long last, I felt more than ready to finally publish my star game, Fantasy Pre: The Dragon Racing TTRPG, a game I've talked about on this channel frequently. Fantasy Pre is a game where you create a dragon and rider duo from a diverse selection of 13 dragons, riders, and backgrounds. You travel the vast kingdom of Pre, competing in races to win the Dragon Cup at the end of the racing season. The game uses a point-buy system to gain a wide variety of features where, win or lose, each race gives you 1 additional point to invest in gaining new features or improving old ones. Since publishing Fantasy Pre: The Dragon Racing TTRPG, I've also created a free-to-download quick start guide with simplified rules and pre-gen characters for anyone to check out to see if they love the game before purchasing. It was only a few days after I posted Fantasy Pre that another game jam caught my attention. The Dinosaurs in My TTRPG Jam sparked a chaotic little miniatures game called Sci-Fi-nosaur Rumble. Shout out to my friend Clover for helping me come up with Sci-Fi-nosaur. You can check her out on Project Yayhem, where she plays a bunch of really fun video games. Sci-Fi-nosaur Rumble is a bit like Gaslands in concept. All you need to play is the rulebook, Sci-Fi-nosaur roster sheet, and a handful of miniature plastic dinosaurs. Upgrade your revived dinosaurs and equip them with cybernetic upgrades and make them fight for sport and entertainment. Who needs dinosaur zoos when you could have epic dinosaur battles? Who do you think would win? 1 decked out T-Rex or 20 jet-boosted raptors? You could finally find out. The game is pretty straightforward and easy to grasp. Artwork for the rulebook is still pending, but you don't need flashy images to have fun. Just to catch attention and sell more copies, unfortunately. Anyways, within the month I completed yet another game. One of my favorite concepts and some of my best artwork. Imagine a high-stakes world of complex political encounters, endless scheming, backstabbing, and perhaps a bit of Game of Thrones strife to steal power and respect through fear and shadowy influence. But it all takes place in a beehive. Pollen and Power is a text-based role-playing game played through a series of secret group chats between the game master and only the players involved in any particular scene. Take on one of 5 roles within the hive and plot your way to the top, or perhaps destruction of the hive. Carefully balance 4 universal resources within the hive: honey, wax, population, and larva, as if any resource gets too low or too high, it will result in unforeseen consequences, and every action you take may throw off the balance. About 2 months go by, as I'm working on completely random assortment of games, and that's when I discovered, you guessed it, another game jam. The 1100-word TTRPG Kitchen Jam was a very different kind of challenge, at least for me. As someone who lets scope get way out of hand with every game I make, I'm not really one for single-page RPGs, but for some reason a kitchen game, which I later found out wasn't the actual theme, just the name of the jam, inspired me. And Goblin Potluck was born. In under 1,000 words, I created a simple party game where a group of goblin chefs get together, each bringing a recipe and list of ingredients, then trading around to mix and match. The result? A horrible yet hilarious culinary creation. Let's be honest, spaghetti shoelaces and button meatballs never hurt anyone, and a lost tooth is all part of the fun. For legal reasons, this is a joke. Do not make or eat any of the recipes you create in-game. Next up, you would not believe that I found another cool game jam to join. The Mecha Mini Games or Firebrand's Games Jam TTRPGs. For this jam, I actually had 2 pretty good ideas, But after some brainstorming and consulting with my panel of nerd friends, I decided that with only a month to complete the game, I took the path of least resistance and chose the simpler idea, leaving the other one to the future. In Panic in the Cockpit, players are accidental mech pilots, trapped in a mech with no idea what any of the controls do. Pull levers, press big red buttons, hit switches, and hope none of them are the self-destruct initiative. Each game and mech is unique, as all of the controls, down to the number of available buttons, is randomized through dice rolls. It's around this time that I realize I probably can accomplish publishing 10 games within my first year of publishing. So I set out to work on my 9th. Spellpunk Graffiti. Surprisingly not derived from a game jam. In Spellpunk Graffiti, your group plays as a party of rogue mages, tagging the city with magical spray paint. Rather than colors such as mundane red and blue, your paints are Fury, Shatter, Portal, Dizzy, and anything else you could think of. Combine them and your mana to create any effect imaginable to protect your base or yourself as you run from law enforcement and rival mage gangs. Lastly, just a day before my deadline, I accomplished my ultimate goal with Boss Monster Academy, a solo journaling experience where you take on the role of a boss monster attending school to be the best boss monster you can be. Choose from a diverse set of monsters and student archetypes that determine your class list. The game contains well over 100 unique prompts to guide you from freshman to senior year as you complete homework and attend events such as Monster Prom, Picture Day, and the Dungeon Ball Championship. So, in the end, was it worth it? I'm sure you can guess that it most certainly was. In the last year, I sold over 40 games, totaling over $250. But it's never really been about the money for me. Granted, 10 or 20 bucks here and there for my greatest hobby and passion is amazing. But I'm just as thrilled that my games have over 2,500 views and over 500 downloads, even if most of them were community copies. I will continue to make games for many years to come, and I will continue to love every minute of it. And I have some big plans for this year. I don't know if I'll do another 10 games in a year, but I do plan to update the artworks for some of my games, as well as complete the date books for Airship and more, which I'm sure many of my fans will be very excited for. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Follow me on itchio, X, and Blue Sky. And if you like, you can also join my Discord server, where nerds like you can talk about my games, your games, or anything you want, really. Links can be found down below. And of course, be sure to check out my awesome games. I run sales frequently. Community copies are always available for anyone who can't afford them but still wants to enjoy and support my work.